Our second story out front, racist comments or politics as usual. So Dr. Ben Carson, you may be familiar with him. He's an up-and-coming African-American in the Republican Party. Anyway, he's being taken to task tonight after making some controversial comments on Mark Lavin's conservative radio show. Here it is.
You're attacked also in many respects because of your race, because you're not supposed to think like this and talk like this. A lot of white liberals just don't like it, do they?
Well, they're the most racist people there are because, they put you in a little category, a little box. You have to think this way. How could you dare come off the plantation?
How could you dare come off the plantation? Carson and Lavin were talking about how Carson says white liberals are attacking him for opposing gay marriage. Out front tonight, Mary Curtis, a blogger for The Washington Post, and Niger Innis, the chief strategist for the TeaParty.net. Okay, great to see both of you. Appreciate it. Niger, let me start with you. Does Dr. Carson have a point that white liberals tend to put African Americans in a certain category or a little box and that they are, as he says, quote, the most racist people?
Well, yes, he does. He absolutely has a point. And, look, Dr. Carson is not a refined politician. He's a rank-and-file person outside of the field of politics. That's why the American people love him so much. So he can be a little clumsy sometimes with what he wants to say, but he's dead on with what he's trying to say. I mean, isn't it interesting, Erin? I think even Mary would agree with me that it is quite racist to say that all certain type of people look alike, but somehow with many white liberals, and for that matter, black liberals, it is not racist to have the presumption that all blacks do or all blacks should think alike. And that's what Dr. Carson was talking about, and he's dead on.
All right, let me ask you, Mary, to be clear, what sparked this conversation about white liberals was what Dr. Carson recently said about gay marriage. So let me just play that to give everyone the context.
No group, be they gays, be they NAMBLA, be they people who believe in bestiality, it doesn't matter what they are, they don't get to change the definition.
Talking obviously the definition of marriage. Mary, if white liberals have an issue with what he just said there about gay marriage, are they racist?
Listen, this is politics. He's going to criticize others, and he's going to get criticized. If you put same-sex marriage and NAMBLA in the same sentence, you will be criticized. And what did he do? He apologized, and it was time to move on.
NAMBLA, by the way, sorry to interrupt you, but is North American
Yes.
Man-Boy Love Association. That's why it's offensive. Yeah.
It is offensive. And as Niger said, he's not sophisticated. He's not used to politics. It's time to move on. But what did he do? He talked about white liberals and being racist, and he blamed them. And so he wants to be treated as an individual, and yet he stereotypes all white liberals as being racist. And that doesn't seem would be the way you would go if you want to make that particular point.
Let me have a point of agreement with Mary, which is that if you stick your head into the field of politics, you're going to get hit from both sides. There's no question about it. And I'm sure Mary was equally critical of those who say that they are racist, or that those that offer a critique of President Obama's policies are racist simply because they're criticizing a black man, or because they call him a socialist, or mention his middle name are racist. That's equally absurd, and that the most powerful man in the world is going to receive critique, and sometimes that critique is going to be harsh, and just because it is harsh does not mean that it's racist. I'm sure that Mary offers that critique as well.
Well, let me ask each of you,
because he gets harsh criticism. It is not racist, but there is some criticism of President Obama that is racist, and you can tell the difference. It isn't all racist, but some of it is.
All right, so let me talk about that. When you talk about who people
Carson
voted for.
has a point.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. I just wanted to ask you about this fundamental issue that I think both of you are getting at here ultimately, which is, are African Americans a block group when it comes to voting, right? In 2012, Niger, Barack Obama got 93% of the African American vote. You say there's a phenomenon among white liberals, a liberal racism that, assumes blacks should be liberal. If you're black, you're going to vote Democrat. Is expecting blacks to vote for President Barack Obama racist or not?
Well, absolutely, and it's more than just that. It is the kind of treatment that blacks get for stepping off the ideological plantation. You know, it is the treatment of Condoleezza Rice, which was vicious when she was Secretary of State, being called a porch monkey, having cartoons of her as Aunt Jemima. It is Justice Clarence Thomas having a picture in the front of a black liberal magazine as a lawn jockey. It's even liberal black Republicans like Colin Powell being called a house slave by Harry Belafonte. It is a vicious double standard that on the one hand, if you are a black conservative, you can say anything you want about that individual, but if you are a black liberal and the most powerful man on the planet, that somehow any critique of you is racist or bigoted and unfair. Double standard, it's wrong, and that's what we're speaking about.
I think Niger is generalizing there, because while there was some criticism, when people used those images of a Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice, there was pushback, there was criticism. They were honored and admired by many African Americans.
Mary, that is not true. There was no criticism from the race merchant machine out there, the Al Sharptons, the NAACP. They were silent with that when that happened, Mary. That is not true. I was engaged in those battles. I pushed back. The Congress of Racial Equality pushed back. But no, heck no. I'm not going to let you get away with that, Mary.
No,
you're too smart. And that is not true. That is a hypocrisy, and you're wrong. And that's a lie. There was not pushback from the same liberal bastion and race merchants out there. The silence was deafening, Mary. And you know that.
What do you think of all this slavery imagery? If an African American happens to have a certain view, then they're talked about as being slaves on a plantation. John Lewis, an African American civil rights activist who's a Democratic politician, is he anybody's slave? Honestly, did you push back against those characterizations?
Mary, I agree with you there. Mary, I agree with you there. John Lewis is not anybody's slave. He's a great man. He's a hero. But what Dr. Carson was talking about was the hell that black conservatives, and by the way, women conservatives, Latino conservatives, are you listening, Marco Rubio? The kind of double standard and heck and unfair, vicious attacks that are launched on people of color or women that dare to break out of the box.
All right. The Republicans are trying to reach out to minorities right now. Reince Priebus says they're trying to reach out to minorities right now. Is this the way to do it? To say that somebody who has a policy that is not conservative and you want them to vote for you is somehow on a plantation? To divide and stereotype African Americans as being on or off a plantation? Dr. Ben Carson is now in politics.
Mary,
people
to tell the truth,
him.
to tell the truth is always the way to reach out.
All right, I'm going to leave it there. And thanks very much to both of you.